Hello, hello, hello. I'm back again. The one, the only, Tarotzahara. Hi. Um, Tonight, I'm going to try and squeeze all of the Pentacles into tonight's class, and that will be the last of the lecturing and this is what this means and this is what that means. And I will figure out, I haven't figured it out yet, I will figure out a way to start doing some videos on the actual process, because I think the actual process is much more important than understanding each card. And so we will go over that some more. But for now, this will be the last instructional, whatever, learn each card class. So, I hope you have your notebook ready. I want to go over a couple of things really fast first. First of all, I hope you guys have been keeping a journal. I hope you guys have been doing your 24-hour spreads. I hope you guys have been doing your book of tokens, because that book of tokens, nothing takes the place of that. I hope you're doing all that stuff. If you're not, I would do it. If you have not typed up your notes yet, I would do that too. Because I want to make sure that when I cut you guys loose from this portion of, of what we're doing, that I feel confident that I have given you everything I can give you, just in those terms. I mean, you can never say, these are the things that are the Ace of Pentacles, and nothing else will ever show as the Ace of Pentacles. I mean, the Ace of Pentacles will show up in a lot of different ways, depending on how often you read and who you're reading for and what you're reading about, etc., etc. But, yeah. So, anyways, the first thing I want to discuss tonight is the Pentacles. I've said it before, I'll probably say it again. Pentacles, people make the mistake, good readers make the mistake of seeing Pentacles as money. And I'm not saying that money doesn't show as Pentacles, it certainly does. But Pentacles are much more about what you earn and what you deserve. And if you really think about that, think about that for a minute. What you earn, what you deserve, sort of means at a certain level, and it's of course not completely, that wherever you are in your life is what you've earned, which is kind of a disturbing thought, especially if you're not happy with where things are in your life, or your bent bangs. That drives me crazy. Anyways, so you really want to look at them first whenever you see Pentacles and you're reading for yourself, or even somebody else, I guess. The first thing you want to do is you want to see the Pentacles as what you deserve and what you've earned. Then you can start looking at it in terms of okay, is this money? Is this something else that's practical? Because it's a practical concern. The Pentacles are always a practical concern. So always start with why is this what I've earned? And if you can't answer that question, your cards can. So, we're going to start there. Okay, Ace of Pentacles. Ace of Pentacles is, like all the other aces, it's either the starting point or the culmination of a practical, because the Pentacles are earth, they're practical, right? Your practical concerns. Now, lump sums of money can show as Ace of Pentacles. Pardon my French, but when you run into some asshole in the world, that shows as the Ace of Pentacles too. Although sometimes that shows as an ace reversed or whatever. But, there's a lot of different ways this can go. This can be your mouth. This can be your ears. This could be any of your orifices, You know what I'm saying, holes. So, the Ace of Pentacles could be the beginning of something that will make you a lot of money. It could be the beginning of a wealthier phase in your life. Obviously, lump sums of money or payments of any sort. So, like if you're due an accident settlement or something like that, the Ace of Pentacles would show you when. It could also be great wealth. It could also be like that you win a lottery and all of a sudden you go from making 70,000 a year to sitting on top of, 100 million or something, right? Okay. Note that the ace, but really all the pentacles, can indicate payments of all kinds. And I want you to take that very loosely. I don't want you to take that like, specifically as a financial payment. Of all kinds. It's your just rewards are getting what you've earned. Okay? When you reverse it, you've got the negative aspects of wealth or the lack of wealth, the lack of money. It could be the beginning of a, really impoverished phase of your life, or the other person if you're reading for somebody else. It could be ventures that do not turn out to be profitable. It could be if you're trying to get like a new business off the ground or something like that. It could be telling you this is just not a moneymaker, and then you have to decide whether it's a heart project and you're going to do it anyways, or whether it's really more about the money. And worst of all, it could be you getting what you deserve because of things you did in the past. Now, I want to talk briefly, because we're really on the subject, about karma, reincarnation, karma, whatever, right? People will say, they do it all the time. They'll say, oh yeah, that guy got hit by a truck. Well, it's karma catching up with him because he didn't whatever, right? Or he did whatever. That is not the way karma works. Every once in a while it does. And certain people, particularly, I'm one of them actually. If I do something stupid or I do something wrong, I get instant karma, bam, right across the side of my head. But most people don't. Think of people who, I'm trying not to mention any names, but think of people who have made a career out of screwing people, made a career out of not paying their debts, made a career out of just taking what they want at everybody else's expense and giving absolutely no concern to anybody else. Like, some of those people go through their whole life and they never get even 1/1000th of what they've earned. That is their specific karma, which will override any of the sort of simple day-to-day kind of things. But don't assume that, karma is it's more of a lifetime thing. If you spend a lifetime doing this, let's say, I don't know, being a bank robber, right? You spend a lifetime being a bank robber. Well, you may reincarnate next time and be someone who gets robbed in the worst way at the worst possible time. You could be someone who spent your entire life doing for other people, being kind, doing the right thing, even setting boundaries and keeping the balance of give and take and all the rest of that stuff, and never get your just rewards in this life. You're going to get it next time. You know what I'm saying? Like, so don't think that karma is like an automatic thing. You do something bad and then something bad happens to you. It really doesn't work that way. Or it doesn't work that way at all with some people. It works that way a lot with other people, but most people, it really doesn't work that specifically and that simply. Okay, Two of Pentacles. Okay, this guy is juggling. See how he's juggling the two, right? He's juggling two things and making them work together, making them work in union. In union, like think of it as like playing double dutch. You know, I don't know if when you were a kid you played double dutch, where you've got the two jump ropes, and the person has to figure out how to like get their timing just right and jump in, right? That's your Two of Pentacles. It is very often things in writing. Okay, anything in writing is going to show as your Two of Pentacles. It could be juggling finances, or juggling two jobs, or juggling being a full-time, I don't know, doctor. They tend to work a lot of hours. Being a full-time doctor and being, being a primary caregiver for children, But it's juggling, and it's getting that rhythm right and being able to work, work the system and get this thing going, like juggling, basically. It can be having like your financial ends will meet, but there won't really be anything left over, because if you look really closely, that's a closed circuit, right? That's a closed circuit. Nothing's getting in or out. So, you spend $40, you make $40. You spend $100, you make $100, right? It can indicate that there are agreements that should be put in writing, or problems of any kind would be best worked out on paper, or something that you need to write out. When you reverse it, it would be an inability to juggle, right? You can't juggle your finances, you can't juggle your work-home balance, these kinds of things. It could be not being able to get any kind of agreements going. It could also be like delays, things that don't meld, sort of in a temperance, in a temperance reversed minor kind of way, right? Or problems that have arisen from the lack of agreements specifically on paper, but not necessarily on paper. Contracts or anything in writing that are false, misleading, missing critical issues, worthless, or anything along those lines. That's your two. And your three. The Three of Pentacles is a card of artistry, skill, craftsmanship, certainly a card of work. And if it is a card of work, it's going to be a card of work that you will hold dear. It won't be, I don't know, putting working in a lemming factory. It would be more like, a heart project. Gifts of beauty or skill in exchange for money. Promotions, financial success for a job well done, glory, and sometimes even a certain amount of fame will come along with your Three of Pentacles. I really like the Three of Pentacles. I always think of it as like elevating to an art form. So if it's, if the person is kind, they have elevated kindness to an art form. If the person is selfish, they have elevated selfishness to an absolute art form. They're so good at it. Or it's so 100% them. And when you reverse it, it would be not taking your tasks seriously. It could be doing, like, not really putting your heart into your work. It could be work that you don't care about. It could be financial transactions, especially related to artistic endeavors, wasted talents, unhappy employment, or unfulfilling work. But remember, with our three, it's very much a card of art. And art can take a lot of forms. You know, one of my sisters is this amazing artist. It's crazy how good she is. She's really good. And I don't have that talent. I just don't have it at all. But I have this. You know, I have being psychic. I have tarot card reading. I have channeling and all the rest of that stuff. That is my form of art. It's the same thing. It's still inspired. So remember that, you know, this could be music. This could be, you know, flat art. This could be sculpture art. This could be the art of telling the truth. This could be, you know what I'm saying? Anything that is done like to a level of art, right? And then when, obviously when it's reversed, then it's like sloppy work you don't care about, you know, work that didn't get done well, that kind of thing. Okay. 4 of Pentacles. Your 4, see how the guy's kind of like holding on to his pentacles? Like he's holding on to them like someone's going to take them, right? And the 4 of Pentacles is very much a card of holding on to what you have, whether that's financial, whether that's a relationship, whether that's your sanity, like whatever. It's holding on. It's very much a card of holding on. And so sometimes it could be receiving money or an inheritance or something like that. But really, truly, this is always first, last, and always about holding on. And then when you reverse it, it's about letting go. It's about letting go of bad feelings, letting go of, I don't know, need to get revenge, letting go of like in my personal life, a situation happened and I really needed things to go a certain way. I really needed legal help, right? I wasn't in any trouble, but whatever. I really needed legal help and it just didn't come. And I was so tied. I was so tied to that. Like I really, really needed that, but it just didn't come, you know? And at a certain point, I had to just say, okay, well, I've got 5 planets in Scorpio. I'm never going to forget, ever. And if I see my chance at some point in the future, I'm going to take it for sure. I'm not going to even blink first, you know? But in the meantime, I have to just let go, even though I was completely right. Like, even though I was completely right and any sense of decency and fair play and all the rest of that should have dictated that I would have gotten the justice I deserved. I just didn't, you know, and I had to just let go of it. Okay. And so letting go can be, you know, parents, you know, letting go when their kids go off to college or move out of the house. It could be, you know, letting go of something that you really, really wanted that you just know you're not going to get now. It could be letting go of people, relationships, money, you know, letting go of money. And it can also be you're being forced by circumstance to have to let go of something. And that is something you should know, you know, and should be followed up on. Okay, so it's telling me I have to let go. What do I have to let go of? Oh, I have to let go of that. There's no way. I'm not letting go of that. There's no way. You're going to have to. Like, you're just going to slow yourself down by not letting go. So, you know, you might want to. Or spendthrift, you know, someone who is spending more than they can afford. Or people who are overgenerous will pull that also. 5 of Pentacles. Now, the 5 of Pentacles shows like this guy like seeking some kind of solace, and that the sort of pentacles behind them always remind me of like a stained glass church window, And so the Five of Pentacles is definitely a sorrowful, it's definitely a sad card. It can be a card of indigence, you know, homelessness or unemployment. It could be a card of self-pity that leads, and self-pity always makes the situation worse, just so you know, just so I've said it. Self-pity always makes your circumstances worse. It can be a card of consolation, as in someone who is seeking consolation or and nurturing, or someone who offers it, consolation and nurturing when you need it. But mostly I read it as kind of like there is somewhere you can turn. You may not know off the top of your head right this second. And like it happens all the time. You're doing a reading for someone and you say, oh, it's some guy that drives a, I don't know, a blue pickup truck, right? And they'll go, I don't know anyone who drives a blue pickup truck. But then next time you talk to them, they're like, you know what? I do know someone who drives a blue pickup truck. And you were absolutely right. It was them. Because sometimes you're just so caught up in what's going on that you forget where you can get what you need, you know, and that can be food, that could be money, that could be shelter, that could be someone to talk to. It could be someone to empathize with you, you know, something like that. And very often it just comes up as a reminder. You know, I had this friend for, God, she was horrible. I had this friend for like 25 years, whatever. And she'd always say like, I don't have anybody. I don't have any friends. And I'd be like, hello? Do you realize you're saying that to somebody? Like, do you realize that I'm your friend when you say you don't have any friends? Oh, well, yeah, I mean, yeah, but I mean, like other friends. Yeah, no, doesn't work, you know? Like, okay. And so it's like a reminder that there are people there so that when you lose your way, like she was perpetually lost in her way, when you lose your way, it sort of brings you back to like, yes, there are places you can go for comfort. You don't have to carry this by yourself. And when you reverse it, it would be a lack of consolation. It would be, have you ever had that person where that same friend of mine used to do that too? It drove me nuts. Something would happen, she'd get upset, and I'd be trying to console her, and she just would not let you console her. It was like, it was like preciously important to her to hold on to that anger and to hold on to that self-pity, you know? And so, you know, it's, if you're going to try and, if you've got a close friend or a family member or someone who's going through a tough time and you're trying to console them and you keep getting that Five of Pentacles reversed, it could be the universe's way of saying, look, they don't want to be consoled. They're not ready to be consoled. They are not ready to let go, you know, of the way they feel right now. So just kind of pass it by. Yeah, or it could be some kind of catastrophic financial situation. It could be, you know, eviction itself is the Tower, but, you know, if you are getting evicted and you're pulling cards on your finances or the roof over your head or whatever, this one's gonna come up probably reversed. Okay, because it's just that's just what the thing is about. Okay. Six of Pentacles. See how there's like these hands outstretched and he's like giving out coins, right? The Six of Pentacles is about gifts. It's about generosity. It's about philanthropy. It could be money that you receive that you have not earned. Like, you know, like how the planet Venus rules the money that you earn. But that's not necessarily all the money we ever get in our lives. We can win money. We could be given money. We could be loaned money, whatever. Okay, and so this is a pretty simple card. It's wait a minute, that's 5. Sorry, 6. Okay, it's about being given something or getting what you have coming to you. Okay? And then when you reverse it, it's about bribery, it's about extortion, it's about gifts given with ulterior motives. It could be no money coming, it could be bad debts. You know, it could be someone coming to you trying to get something from you. Again, it's not always money. Trying to get something from you that you either don't have or that you don't want to give them. Okay, that one's a pretty easy one. And this, well, yeah, I'm going to do the 7 and 8 separately. I always think, in my mind, I always see the 7 and 8 as pretty close to each other, but we'll do them separately. Okay, 7 of Pentacles. See how he's got his little hoe. He's out there in his garden growing his little pentacle plants, right? So this is a card of treasures. It usually appears in a spread to indicate like what the person holds dear, right? Whether that's their dog, whether that's their cat, whether that's their money, whether that's their family, their job, their title, whatever. And it's also a card of reaping the harvest after the hard work, right? That's why the guy's got his little hoe, right? He's worked hard and he's grown his pinnacles, and now they're ready to be harvested, right? Okay. And when it's reversed, it definitely indicates debt. Like the bad D word, debt. Whether or not the debt is manageable, payable, a burden, whatever is dependent on the cards around it. Okay, again, we're not looking at a tarot card spread as there's this energy and there's that energy, and they're both like a closed circuit. It's fluid. They all run into each other. So, you get this, reverse 7 of Pentacles, right? And you want to see the cards around it. If you get this reverse 7 of Pentacles and you get really mild, like small pentacles, small swords, that kind of thing, small cups, reverse, it would be like, okay, I don't really want to pay this debt. Like when you find out that you owe money to the IRS that you didn't know, right? You don't want to pay that debt. But at the same time, you pay it, and the cards around it will let you know if in paying the debt, you're going to go broke, or if in paying the debt, you're just going to get the stupid thing off your back, and just whatever. Okay. Okay. So, this card reversed is letting you know that there's an unpaid debt. And okay, so now we are on to the 8 of Pentacles. The 8 of Pentacles is about apprenticeship. And the key word here is be careful not to take this concept too literally. Apprenticeship implies the beginning stage and the learning process. So it can imply like new jobs, new opportunities, getting to know people, getting to know a situation. It's about learning. It's primarily a card of learning. And then when you reverse it, it could be that your work is sloppy, that there is no work, that you have no talent for the work that you're doing, or you've got no talent in something that you're trying to learn or do. Like when I tried to take guitar lessons, it was sad. It was really sad. I have no talent for it whatsoever. whatever, you know, like music sometimes just lives in your heart. It doesn't come out of you. It doesn't come out of you, you know? And it could be working hard and learning, but not really getting paid or not getting what you should be getting out of it. It could also be talents used for illegal, immoral, or evil purposes. There, I've said it. Okay. Nine of Pentacles. This one always reminds me of my mother. That even looks kind of like my mother. The Nine of Pentacles is, this one more than a lot of the other Pentacles, very often comes up around money. And when you get this right side up, it's like you've got the external trappings. You've got the big house. You've got the fancy car. You've got the designer clothes and all the rest of it. But you don't have anybody like Doris Duke or something, you know, where you're isolated. You know, your externals are getting everything and your internals are not getting what they need. Okay. And I don't know why this comes up so often for women. You don't see it as much with men. And it also has connections to home and garden and family, but it would be like family that's out of state, you know, family that's out of town, that kind of thing. It certainly implies a degree of separation. Inheritances can show this way, trust funds, college funds, that sort of thing. And when you reverse it, it's more like financial instability, like you just don't have the money. You know, it could be a robbery. Certainly a robbery would show in this way. Family problems with inheritances, unhappiness, or breakdowns in the home. Okay. And last but not least, the Ten of Pentacles. The Ten of Pentacles and the Ten of Cups, I always read both of them as, and they both lived happily ever after. I mean, not that there's any such thing, but, you know, you've got two characters on one card. We know what that means. You've got all those pentacles. They look like they're happy with each other. Okay? And so it has a lot of the same meaning as the 9, but the 9 implies solitude and the 10 implies togetherness, as opposed to the isolation in 9. This could be moving in with someone that you love. It could mean marriage, family, success, financial success, any other kind of success. Mostly this is a card of happiness, love, success, fulfillment, to a very large degree. And it generally does imply a certain amount of financial success. Otherwise, it would be the Ten of Cups, right? Okay. And so, you know, and when you get a Ten of Pentacles, this happens to me a lot. Sorry, it's hot. This happens to me a lot where, like, I'll get this 10 of Pence. Now, obviously, the people aren't going to live happily ever after because that's not the way the real world works. I mean, you could be happy with someone, but there's always going to be issues, right? But with that 10, it's like kind of telling me, like, okay, she just met this person. Let's say I'm reading for a woman. She just met this guy. You know, they seem to have hit it off pretty well. I get the Ten of Pentacles. That does imply to me that there will be a family there at some point, which is most often, but sometimes it's just that even that the two families will sort of conjoin. It means that they will basically have a good marriage or a good relationship, even if they don't marry each other. Okay, and then when you reverse it, it would be family problems of every manner of family problems, whether that's two people that don't get along, whether that's a rift in the middle of the family, whether that's, you know, that the family just hits, you know, hard times financially. It can be like if you inherit something that you can't afford, like let's say you inherit a a Rolls Royce and you can't afford the registration and the repairs on it. You know, something like that. It could be breakups. It could be, you know, a relationship that never gets to, you know, a domestic kind of level. It could be, again, robberies. It could be the loss of a home. It could be, you know, sort of the destruction of a family, or the fear of destruction of the family, or a fear of, because a lot of times the reverse cards, you know, you got to kind of wing it, you know, on a case-by-case basis. But a lot of times the reverse cards are just the fear of something happening, not the thing actually happening. And if you're not sure, what do you do? What do you do? That's right. You got it. You're right. You pull 6 cards on the side and say, what is the truth about that reverse 10 of Pentacles? And it'll sort of tell you it's just fear, or this is a legitimate problem. This is a concern. You got to deal with the concern. Okay. Page of Pentacles. This page can either be a messenger or a student. He either brings unexpected news, mostly regarding money, or he is a learner. In some ways, he's like the apprentice in the 8. But this card would imply that he has some money backing him, so that he doesn't have to really earn money. You know, he doesn't really have to earn money. He can afford to learn without, you know, having a job at the same time. Or it could be a card of expectations. Okay, it could be children going off to school. It could be eager students. It could be, you know, some people, like when I read about Judaism, don't ask me why. When I read about Judaism, it's like every neuron in my body just starts firing at once. I just get so like caught up, you know, because I just like learning that stuff. It's just really interesting. Do I practice? Not at all. But I like to learn about it. I find it very interesting. So it could be the kind of thing where, you know, whatever you're learning, you're hungry for. It could be that you're really hungry to learn tarot, for example. Or it could be good news coming. And when you reverse him, it would be bad news, no news, like, you know, you're waiting for a call about a job, for example, and the call doesn't come, you know, when you want it. It could be no money for education. It could be bad students, or disinterested students. Or, you know, or sometimes studying for the sake of making money, not for the sake of the love of knowledge, and not for the sake of the love of the subject, you know? Okay. Night. Look at that. I skipped in my notes. I skipped right over the night. I run across this every time. I thought I stuck it in here somewhere. Anyways, the Knight of Pentacles is, you know, remember, you're dealing with Earth here. Slow and steady wins the race. Knights tend to come or go, right? And with the Knight of Pentacles, he comes in slow. He's very deliberate. He's very sure-footed. He knows where he's going, and he's in no hurry. Okay? And then when you reverse him, he doesn't know where he's going. He's taking forever. He's getting sidetracked. He's got ADD, whatever. And he's not doing that slow plodding. I always think of it as Taurus. You know, Cap does it too. But like that sort of Taurus, like one foot in front of the other. The patience of one foot in front of the other. I have no patience for that. But then again, I'm the opposite of Taurus, right? So, so there's your Knight of Pentacles. Your Queen. She is the earthbound queen. She operates from a position of practicality and financial attainment. Okay? And this is, you know, like you're doing a reading and this Queen of Pentacles comes up, right? That's your cue to say, okay, she's going to be practical. She may not have the capacity. A lot of times you'll see like I had this friend tell me one time that his girlfriend, he said, if she was a Virgo, right? He said, if I told her to go outside and paint every blade of grass in the yard purple instead of the green that it grows, she would happily go out there and she would paint every blade of grass. And if when she's done and she shows it to me, I say, I don't like that shade of purple, she will gladly go out there and paint them all over again, a better shade of purple to suit me. Like that's that sort of like practical, you know, but he said, but she never really understands my heart. He was a Scorpio, you know, so he was more emotional. She was more practical. This is your practical queen, right? So she is going to have definitely finances are going to be very important to her. Stability is going to be important to her. She does have some connections to fertility. But it seems to be more of like financial fertility, like that you're creating a fertile environment to make money in. Or a woman that is already wealthy and she's, you know, generally well trusted and respected and all that other stuff. And she usually gives good advice too. And when you reverse her, she is moody. She is moody. She's impractical. She's stingy. Maybe she's poor. This is a woman with relatively bad intent who should not be trusted. If she appears as someone's lover, she generally has an angle. And, you know, someone comes in like that, you want to ascertain their goals, their motives. What are they up to? And the king is more of like the emperor. You know what I'm saying? Like this is sort of a, you know, in a very traditional sense, the way men want to function in their lives. They want to make money. They want to be rich. They want to have the practical stuff handled. And so like when you think about, I don't know, like Jane Austen days or something like that, you know, when people just like straight up married for money, like there was no gold digging about it. It was just, that's women couldn't make money any other way. So they had to marry it, you know? And so he's practical and he tends to be generous. He's not a pushover. He's smart. He didn't make that money by accident. He made it by being smart, knowing what he was doing, getting the things done that, you know, need to be done. And when you reverse him, again, you get greedy, stingy, cranky, ill-tempered, unfair, either a man with no money or with money that that he won't like not share, but you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, he's got the money, but he's still taking you to McDonald's for dinner kind of thing. And you want to be cautious of him because he's not really very trustworthy and he doesn't have very good luck financially. So if this is someone that you want to get involved with romantically, whatever, first you got to make sure that he's not just a jerk, right? Once you can see that he's not just a jerk, then you're going to have to make your peace with like, okay, well, he's never going to be that good with money. So he doesn't, I don't let him have full access to the joint accounts. I give him a small allowance because he's going to burn through every single penny if he's given the option. And of course, you're going to do that with his agreement. You're not just going to dictate like a Nazi. Anyway, so he can be careless. He's not a good guy. He's just not a good guy. So sad as this is for me, I don't know if it's sad for you. That's it. All of my lecturing on what the cards mean is done. However, I am going to continue to do sample spreads. And so I don't know when I'll be posting them. So click the little bell so that you get notified. Again, I hope you have subscribed. I hope you have liked. I hope you have shared. I know you haven't commented. It would be nice if you did. I don't know who's out there and I don't know who's watching. But anyways, it has been a pleasure. I have really enjoyed teaching you guys. I hope you've learned. In the description part of all the videos, it shows my contact information if you need to get a hold of me. And you haven't heard the last of me yet. I'm not that easy to get rid of. So, thank you very much and have a lovely day.